All right, welcome to the June 12th Police and Fire Commission in the City of Fitchburg. First agenda item is a call to order. Thank you for the members who are here and the members of the public who've joined us. And second order on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. If we could all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Agenda item number 3 is approval of the minutes. We have our April 17th, 2024 minutes, as well as the May 15th, 2024 minutes. Thank you. Which were in the packet. Any comments?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving both the April 17th and the May 15th minutes, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Sure.
I can only vote for May 15th. I was not a member on April 17th.
Fair enough.
It was not in attendance.
That makes sense. Okay. Sounds good. Agenda item number 4 is public appearances for non-agenda items. We've got a group of folks here in the room, so I'll try and catch these by people who came in. Rita Hendricks, I think you were first, if you wouldn't mind. Stop up. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Rita Burke-Henricks. I live at 5655 Montadale in Fitchburg for almost 19 years. Yesterday, I watched a funeral of a young black Minneapolis police officer who was killed in the line of duty trying to help a wounded person on the ground. Many talked about what a fantastic job he did connecting with people, how he saved several lives while putting his own at risk, how he made a difference. People were out to honor his life, but should they have been there earlier? Where were the people when the people were calling for defunding the police? This made me think that you people hear complaints and you don't hear praise. So that's why I'm here. I know that there are a few bad officers, but it's your job to weed those officers out. It's your job to ensure that officers are properly trained and equipped. We don't blame all doctors when there are bad ones. We don't blame all teachers when there's a bad one. Why do we spew hatred towards all police officers? We need police. In a utopian world, there would be no need to have police, but that world doesn't exist. There will be lost children, people in crisis, people without regard for others, or even someone making a poor choice that can be helped towards the right path. If Fitchburg allows people to rang our officers as they did in February, we will not be able to retain good officers or hire them when we need them. When agitators are allowed to control a meeting in our city, what message does that send? I believe I speak for many citizens of Fitchburg who want a professional, well-trained police force, who want all residents treated fairly, who want to feel safe when going to the grocery store, who want to know that officers will be there if there's a problem, and who want our officers treated with respect for doing a difficult job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rita. Much appreciated. Next, we have Gerald Mullen from the Wisconsin Department of Justice.
Thank you, members of the PFC. As Chairman O'Day stated, that I am not a resident of Fitchburg. I'm here in my capacity as the compliance officer for the Wisconsin Department of Justice Training and Standards Bureau. Part of my duties involves the auditing of law enforcement agencies in Wisconsin. It's not our primary responsibility, so typically we do the audits in the summer. Our primary role is oversight of the law enforcement academies in Wisconsin, and those academies are audited every 2 years, and they're subject to recertification by the Law Enforcement Standards Board. The LESP does not, however, have authority to certify agencies. So essentially, when myself or one of my colleagues goes out to do an agency audit, it's typically kind of a courtesy audit for the agency and to ensure that the agency is in compliance with the Wisconsin Administrative Code. And the scope of the audit is somewhat limited. It's primarily an examination of the personnel files of the officers to ensure that the proper documentation are in those files. For example, that a background investigation was conducted, that the officer has a valid driver's license, that criminal history was conducted, that the officer meets the educational requirements. The scope of the audits were expanded recently within the last 2 or 3 years to include to ensure that the agency also has posted the use of force policy on the website. And then we also take a look at the training files. So the reason why I'm here, just recently did an audit of the Fitchburg Police Department last week on June 4th. And with Dana Schmidt and Chief Morales were present for that audit. And the department was in compliance. In fact, we issue a letter of appreciation on DOJ letterhead to agencies when the department and the agency does a good job on the audit, and we don't find any discrepancies. Now, that's not always the case. Typically, with many smaller agencies, there's a lot of times there are discrepancies. And the point of us doing the audit in many cases is to try to point those out so they can get those corrected. So I'm just essentially here to report that I'm sure none of you are surprised, but all of the files were in good shape, and the officers are well exceeding the minimum requirements for annual recertification, which is 24 hours. Most of the files I looked at, the officers had over 100 hours of annual recertification training. So thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. And just to note, Chief, I think this is the letter that you sent out to the Police and Fire Commission and City Council members recently with the letter from the Department of Justice.
That is correct, sir.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. Next, we have registration only from Cheryl Strassman in support of our police officers and the great job they do for Fitchburg. Thank you, Cheryl. And next, we have Ari Lowe.
Hi, my name is Ari, and I am a Fitchburg resident with a certificate in criminal justice, which required over 100 hours of ride-alongs, and have also taken a Citizens Police Academy course. I understand the valuable role that police services can play in society by helping citizens through some of the most stressful situations in their lives, and I know how important it is to have a skilled police chief leading the department. Chief Morales is strong in some skill sets, like that he truly values the importance of officer training, but he also struggles with other important parts of his job. I want to encourage this group to seriously consider 4 issues with our chief. Issue 1. Chief Morales uses unfortunate offhand remarks to shut down and dismiss controversial conversations. For example, during a public presentation about the new police facility building, when I asked if the city could see a plan that only cost $35 million, the police chief told me that I am defunding the police. See Public Information Session, November 27th, 2023 at 45 minutes. This is unhelpful rhetoric meant to shut down a discussion and politicize a civil discourse on budgeting. It is a problem that public input and recommendations during these information sessions have been aggressively dismissed by the chief and sergeants in his department instead of being welcomed. Issue number 2. Chief Morales unnecessarily prolonged the police facility design process by continuing to insist on a $50 million building that he was repeatedly getting feedback to find a design that cost $35 million, which is already a lot of money. Issue number 3. In a debate of gender-neutral locker rooms at the new police facility, it was suggested that perhaps female-identifying officers don't feel comfortable in changing rooms with men, and that men might worry about female officers being offended by what the men say in the changing room. See Common Council meeting from January 10th, 2024 at 2 hours and 49 minutes. This committee should look into whether male officers are making sexist remarks and dismissing it as jokes or locker room banter. Issue number 4. Finally, and most distressingly, WIBRS data confirms that although Fitchburg's population has a racial split of 65% white people and 13% black people, arrests are made of 42% white and 54% black Fitchburgians. Chief Morales is lacking important skills in communication to make sure he doesn't escalate a situation and accuse someone of defunding the police. He unnecessarily prolonged the police facility design process by stubbornly refusing to consider using the budget he was provided. His department possibly has sexist comments being made in locker rooms, and worst of all, his department's arrest statistics show incredible systemic racial bias. Please consider taking action on these concerns.
Okay, thank you, Ari. Next, we have Alder Dave Herbst.
Board, those of you, Angela and Veronica, I haven't met before. I'm Alderperson Dave Herbst, District 1 Alder. I'm in my second term. I've lived in Fitchburg for 37 years at the same house. I've served 31 years as a volunteer on the Board of Public Works, and I've been reappointed by the past 8 mayors for this. I live in a diverse neighborhood. Okay? My immediate neighbors are African American. I think you all know Frances Huntley Cooper. She's my next door neighbor. A Jamaican American, an Iraqi Muslim, Hispanic neighbors, Armenian, Jewish, Hmong, Hindu, all within a block of mine. Okay. In my time in the neighborhood, I've coached many youth sports with many diverse athletes, boys and girls. And I think if you talk to any of the parents or the coaches that I've coached with, they would tell you that Dave respected them, wanted them to be the best that they could be. Okay? I work with the African American community on King James Way. The last Friday, I was with them. With many mothers in the neighborhood, we are working on a traffic resolution to improve the traffic safety in the neighborhood. For my entire time there, I've been the fixer, the person that fixed the bicycles for the children in the neighborhood. They've come to my house. In that time, one of the neighbors down the street, a friend of our children, they fell on hard times. The mother couldn't afford to feed them. We took in their son, the African-American son. For 2 years, he lived with us. Then after high school, he was homeless. We took him in again, and he lived with us. We found him a job, and now he's out on his own. But I also work very much with the Hispanic neighborhood. I've probably given away several hundred bicycles through free bikes for kids to the Hispanic and African-American children. It is part of my mission as an alder. I would tell you I have a great affinity for them, my Hispanic neighbors. They share with me 5 important traits that I consider sacred. Share a Catholic faith, they share an Amish-like work ethic, share love of family, they share love of celebrating, and they also share personal responsibility. Okay? In closing, I'd like to say I refute most of what the previous speaker said about our chief. I find him to be a respectable, honorable man, and many others would agree. And in closing, I'd say I support our chief and I support our police. Okay, they want to protect and serve. You heard from Rita about the officer that lost his life going to help someone that was thought to be injured. He was shot. A couple months earlier, I was working in Savage, Minnesota. 3 officers were killed responding to a call for help at a home. And three young men will never see their families again. But again, I respect our police chief. I think the fact that our officers want to serve and protect should be honored, and they should not be demonized. If we go back to Memorial Day, we honored At Memorial Day, we honored Iraqi veteran, Sergeant Jonathan Parker. Served his country, saw many of his friends killed during his service time, came back, was given a chance in our department, has become a cornerstone of our city. You know, he runs the K-9 unit. Anytime he's out, there are a large number of children around him of all races, and criticism of our police department, I just don't get it. I've lived here a long time, and we have a great force. Not that things can't be improved, but they should not be demonized, and I hope you keep that in mind. Thank you for your time.
Right. Thank you, Alder Herbst. And next, we have two registrations, Linda Zimdars in support of Fitchburg Police Department and Stephanie East, Fitchburg Needs Chief Morales. And then I believe we have one video that was submitted. Scott, if I could impose on you to move that through.
Hi, I'm Colleen Chase. Tonight I just wanted to share an appreciation with you for the Fitchburg Police Department. The upcoming community night out in August was such a great program last year, and it's got to be one of the only events in the city of Fitchburg that includes everyone. All ages and neighborhoods are represented, and I just think they should be applauded for organizing everything, showing up, being there. And I also do appreciate the recent press release about another arrest that resulted in getting another gun off the street. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? No one else by video then? Okay. Fair enough. Well, thank you all. Really appreciate the input. Why don't we move to agenda item number 5, and that is the report from the police department. Chief?
Hello. We'll start off with sworn staffing summary. We're currently down 4 vacancies. That's doing really good. Can you hear me now? No? Okay, sorry about that. We're currently down 4 vacancies. Recently, for the month of June, early June, we made 2 more hires. We're doing very, very well with our hiring. We're hoping to have those 4 vacancies filled by the end of the year, possibly having some enter the academy in January of 2025. Currently, we have 4 on field training, 3 in the law enforcement academy, and 3 on restrictive duty or FMLA. Those 3 are proud parents, one of them a proud mother that recently happened within the last week. What that leaves us overall for patrol positions is 14 vacancies or unfilled positions in the patrol level. You can see the demographics, or if you can't, Sarah's not here, but our demographics for the department, 10 females, which puts us at 19, just under 20% female are part of the staffing. 80% are male. Out of that, we have 76% white, 0 in the black category, 19.6% Hispanic, which is tied with the female, 2% Asian, and 2% multiracial. So we're doing pretty good with the exception of one category in our recruiting base that we've been trying hard, but not different than the other departments in the county. Are there any questions with that part?
Chief, can you talk a little bit about the 2 potential retires this year?
Those 2 potential retires are not going to retire. One of them is me on that list, and the other one is a detective who's committed to 3 more years. So I'm not worried about those retirements. I think when we look at the overtime report and you see the pickup in that and the activity, you all, I think, are signed up for the monthly report and activity report. In that activity, you can see that our activity is going up, which will also mimic the overtime due to staffing. There's a lot of activity going on now, and usually when you're in the latter part of your years, you tend to slow down, which within the last 2 years, we saw a big drop in resignations and retirements. Out of a sworn group of 55, 24 have left the organization within the last 2 years. So we've done a big transition, or we're in a big transition with our department and staffing.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Morales?
Okay, the overtime report will show that our vacancies as of the end of May was 6. We're down to 4, as I stated, versus 11 in 2023. The total overtime hours, although that doesn't seem that it's consistent when you have less bodies, you think you're going to have more overtime, but it actually doesn't show that. When you have less bodies, it's very difficult, which means we're running at minimum staffings almost every day. Our overtime levels are up, but we're running all spring. We're field training. There were several officers that we had on there, which the activity that comes from field training, responding to assignments, doing the additional work, that's going to get you your overtime hours in May of 2024, which are higher than May of 2023 with the 11 vacancies. The bottom chart, pie charts, show you where our vacancies or our staffing is at. If there's no questions or any questions on that, I can elaborate.
Any questions for Chief on the overtime report? Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
So next we'll move to agenda item 5B, which is a closed session. So if we do vote to enter into closed session, we'll have to ask those members of the public to step out. And I'll move, pursuant to 1985 sub 1 sub C Wisconsin statutes, that the commission move into closed session for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, more specifically to make a condition or conditional offers for the position of police officer.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you. We will enter into closed session. All right, we are back from closed session and moving to agenda item 5C. Any action out of closed session?
I will move that we accept the recommendation of Chief Morales to extend 2 conditional offers of employment for the position of police officer.
I second.
Right. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief, for the police department report. And we'll move to agenda item 6A, staffing report from the fire department. Chief?
Good evening. Staffing report. We've had a couple changes as far as our numbers. We're seeing a number of our POX staff that are moving on in life as far as schooling getting done, family moving, and such. So as you can see in the personnel notes, we've had 2 of our second-year interns graduate from Madison College. One I reported last month that got hired full-time up in Anago, Wisconsin. So we're very happy about that. It shows that that not only their education through Madison College of the associate degree program, and then the internship definitely benefits them in getting full-time employment. So that's great news for that individual that is full-time already. We still have a leave of absence with Mr. Stewart. We did receive a resignation from firefighter Schultz. She's taking more of a paramedic line in protective services, so we wish her well with that. Firefighter Hillebrand requested a position change from intern to POX, which I think we talk about here in a little bit. And then we're excited to report that our 3 new interns that you actually took action back on in March, I believe, will be starting right after Father's Day. So we're really excited. We met with them and their parents on Saturday, did a meet and greet at Firehouse 1, and then took them to Firehouse 2 and 3 to give them a tour. It allows the parents to see where the interns are going to be living for the next 2 years and what they'll be doing. And then also, letting the family members know at any time they can stop in and see us and kind come in and see how their child is essentially how they're doing within the internship. So we're very excited about them starting here on Monday. As far as recruitment, we did talk last month about the battalion chief process. That was approved last night. The budget amendment passed to take the full-time firefighter position that was approved by the council and it has now been approved as a battalion chief full-time. So we'll be looking for getting approval to start that process here and getting approval through the commission here. There's no new updates on our POX firefighter recruitment process. And then last Thursday, I did meet with our 5 finalists for full-time firefighter. Great candidates, and that is those 5 will be put on that eligibility list for future openings here, which if we start moving forward with the battalion chief, there will be kind of that stair-stepping of hopefully a lieutenant applies for a battalion chief, and then a full-time firefighter applies for lieutenant, which opens up that full-time firefighter position. So either way, we had a full-time firefighter position that we're going to have to fill. As far as overtime, we're still staying pretty consistent with and keeping overtime numbers down. We are going into the summer months, a lot of FTE and vacations, and that will be coming up. So we'll update as we do every month. And then we've been pretty lucky to keep our year-to-date mandates down also. Any questions? We did provide our activity report at the top, so if you have any questions about that also, definitely take those.
Actually, Chief, I have a couple questions. Let's
Sure.
start with number one. A lot of the calls are typically EMS assist.
Yes.
And I think moments ago you mentioned how you're losing one firefighter to more of a paramedic role. Do you think there's any impact with so many calls being EMS assist? How much does that influence, in general, your firefighters to maybe think about taking a different career path?
Oh, absolutely. Even when they're in their 2-year in the fire internship, they are very active also with riding with Fitchburg and the ambulance crew. Actually, once they're done with the 2-year fire internship, if they meet the criteria, they could also go into a 3rd-year paramedic internship with Fitchburg, and that's what firefighter Schultz did. They start off, they come in, they find out that, maybe being a paramedic is more, what I want to do in this profession, and that absolutely happens. We see a few that don't take the fire track, and they stay with the EMS or move on to go as a paramedic. But either way, the program is to help them decide whichever path they want to take. So it's a bonus.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, it's great. We love to see them going into even staying in EMS, because some get done and they find out that maybe this isn't what I wanted to do in life, and they move off to do some other type of profession. But as long as they're staying in public safety, that's great.
Okay. My last question is with regards to the authorized headcount for the POX.
Yes.
Is there any thoughts about right-sizing that number? I mean, we show that big disparity each month, right?
Yep.
Almost 50% or sometimes more than 50%, negative. Any thoughts about truing up that number to what is realistic? Because I think as long as I've been on the commission, I've seen that the delta be as large as it is today.
Right. Great question. And yes, we, with now the approval of the battalion chief, we've put that whole POX recruitment on hold, because in order to make the battalion chief happen, actually it's one of my fellow full-time deputy chief is actually going to voluntarily demote down into one of 2 battalion chiefs that we need to maintain our OIC coverage on a consistent basis. The position that was approved last night was that full-time firefighter position, which is now a battalion chief. So we need 3 battalion chiefs. So in the future, we'll be, working towards that 3rd one. But at least we can get those 2 in there. The reason we need 3 is because we have 3 shifts, A, B, and C. That battalion chief will be in charge of their respective shift. But to get back to the POX numbers, until we made that adjustment within our operating budget, we didn't know what number that we need to truly look at. So like right now, we have an authorized head count of 45. We know we'll never meet that number. We've always consistently, year over year, even if we do POX recruitment, we're never going to get 45 people to authorize head count. So what is that number? That's what we need to sit down, and then we'll report back to you that this is what we can consistently keep on staff that we know that are actually that are active members. We've had a couple that have left over the last couple years. Great people, they're great members. Their lives have changed. Family changed, they moved, and such, and they just couldn't give that commitment to the fire department anymore. So they were honest with themselves, they were honest with us, and they resigned. So we're seeing those numbers. Even today, I received another resignation. Why? Because they're moving to Virginia and for other employment, and so you'll see that number go down even more. So yes, that number 45, as far as the authorized head count, definitely needs to change.
Thank you.
Is that number, that 45, budgeted?
Yes.
So if you could hire 45, you could fund 45?
Yes.
Does that hold true for all the vacancy positions, the lieutenant positions,
Yep. So anything that's authorized head count, we budget it for. So because we've had that like I said, over 50%, that we've never been able to get kind of above, or even if we do, it's barely above 50%. Some of those monies were shifted from out of the POX fund to help fund the battalion chief position.
So next, just thinking ahead then, if that's the truth, and I don't doubt it is, can we convert some of that budget to permanent positions? It seems to me we're wasting opportunity. We have 31 authorized, budgeted positions that go unfilled year after year, to Brian's point.
Yep.
Can we roll those up, and maybe it's easier to recruit a full-time firefighter position or a lieutenant? Is that an option, or does that take other levers?
No, it takes discussion, here at City Hall, and talking, with the mayor and Chad Brecklin, and then also HR. But we got to make sure that, it's been approved on, each department's asking for more full-time FTE positions. So we just got to make sure that, one, we're moving in the direction of getting those approved. And yes, we've definitely shared these numbers year after year when it comes to asking for more full-time employment. That we have these numbers to reflect back on, that we just never can get up to that 45. And that's even with full-time employment. Back when I was applying, you'd get hundreds here at Fitchburg apply for 1 or 2 positions. This last time that we ran the full-time recruitment, it was 39 people. I think the time before it was 70-some people, if I remember right. But even these larger departments across the state are not seeing the numbers that as far as recruitment is in the applications. They're just not seeing the numbers anymore like they used to. But yes, could we use these funds in that? Absolutely. We just got to take the right steps to get it approved through the budget.
Well, in the interest of wellness and mental health and everything else relative to our current staff, I would encourage you to do that at the next opportunity and try and massage that number so we can fully fund the department with the money already authorized, but use it instead of paying overtime hours to existing members. Let's try and recruit some permanent members that can take the load off some of the existing firefighters. So, thanks.
Yep, thank you. Agreed.
So I think there's a lot of discussion around the fire department and what the right staffing model is, and also model for a police or a fire department. If you're a full-time career only, if you have paid on call, what role EMS plays in it. You know, we've had a vacancy in the chief role for a couple months at least now. And, you know, I think it might be valuable to hear about some of the city hall plans for what that recruitment process will look like. So maybe we can have some folks stop in at our next meeting to discuss where things are at with that.
Yes.
Because I suspect the next chief, whomever that is going to have thoughts on what that structure looks like.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be the future, definitely, you know, moving on in the future of the fire department. You know, and I definitely want to make sure that I acknowledge all of our POX staff. I mean, if it's not for the contingency of POX staff, which right now is 21, I mean, we wouldn't be filling, we wouldn't be getting engines out the door. We'd be staffing short. So the POX staff is vital to the operation of this department. You know, back when I started, the POX was that, you know, tipped the scale. You know, they're the heavier of the scale. Well, now things are balancing out. Like I said, we just don't have the POX applying. We did have a contingency of POX that did apply this last time around, but we had to make sure we knew where we're at budget-wise for this battalion chief, because right now filling that OIC position is the priority right now within the department. Ever since, and I shared this with the council last night, we had a POX deputy chief leave in 2021. He was working over 2,900 hours. He was retired, but he was working over a full-time firefighter that works on shift work that works annually 2,496 hours. The reason that we didn't move forward with the full-time firefighter position this year that was budgeted and approved was we have one of our current POX division chiefs that's working on average 2,500 hours annually. So there's two full-time positions, over two full-time positions that, and he's retiring the middle of next year. So we had to start taking steps to make and ensure that we're going to have OIC coverage here next year, because the way we're doing it right now, we're still trying to fill in the gaps from the deputy chief that retired back in 2021 for our officer in charge coverage. That's what OIC stands for. I just shorten it up. So that's why we're taking those steps right now with the battalion chief. And the monies that we've had in here from the POX funding, we're able to help with getting that position a full-time, an FTE position.
Last question. Is there a good, because it's not a one-to-one, I get that. What's the trade-off, just anecdotally, if we have 24 POX firefighter positions vacant, how many full-time positions would that translate into? Just broad. Is there a rule of thumb or?
I'd have to get those now. I'd have to work with finance to get you what that, like you said, would, if is it 20, is it 24? I'd have to work with Misty on getting you that exact number. And it all depends on what position it is, if it's a firefighter position, lieutenant position, or now, which will be a battalion chief position.
Not urgent, just curiosity.
Yep.
How many of those positions, if converted to full-time, how many could we afford given the current authorized funding?
Yep.
Thanks.
Will you explain POX?
So POX is so paid on call. Our paid on call membership are the ones that live in the city of Fitchburg or just on the outskirts of Fitchburg. We have a number of people that live Back when I was on the department, you could live within 4 miles of either firehouse. Why? Because old Firehouse 2 was on west of Verona Road. So a lot of us lived just up over the hill in the city of Madison. That was still within our response district, even though it's not our response district. We don't go by those criteria anymore, but if you live within the vicinity of the city of Fitchburg, we call you paid on call. Those that live, and we have a number of people that live, a couple were McFarland, some Stoughton, some New Glarus. They're paid on premises. When they come to work, they have to stay at the firehouse. So that's why they had the designation of paid on premises. So instead of saying paid on call, paid on premises all the time, we just say POX. It covers both of those designations. They're not, meaning they're not full-time positions.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions for the chief? Okay. Chief, thank you for the staffing report, and
Thank
thanks
you.
to the service for everything they do. We'll move to agenda item 6B. I'll move that pursuant to section 1985, sub 1, sub C, Wisconsin statutes, the commission move into closed session for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, more specifically to notice the commission of a resignation of 2 paid-on-call, paid-on-premise firefighters, the reclassification of 1 fire science resident intern to paid-on-call, paid-on-premises firefighter, and to establish an eligibility list for career firefighter.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of entering closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are in closed session. All right, we are back from closed session and moving to agenda item 6C. Any actions out of closed session?
I
Mr.
will
Chair.
move. Oh, sorry.
Nope, go ahead. I just want to say something before you're done.
Sure, well, Chief, go ahead.
So I know that in my discussion with POX and our staff, I recognize POX staff. I want to recognize everybody on the fire department, including our full-time staff. Last year, they put in a lot of overtime hours. Why? Because we had people hurt. So I want to make sure that I recognize everybody on the fire department, the full-time staff and the POX staff. So just wanted to make sure I went on record for that.
Sure, sounds good. All right, any actions out of closed session?
I will move that we accept the chief's recommendation to reclassify 1 fire science resident to the position of POX firefighter.
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Banks. Any discussion? It seems like each meeting we are excessively proud of how we continue to just develop people in the department and in the intern program in particular, which is, indicative of the strength of the department and everyone in it. So thank you for that. Any discussion, other discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion to reclassify 1 fire science resident intern to paid on-call, paid on-premises firefighter, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. Any other action out of closed session?
I move we accept the chief's request to establish an eligibility list for a career firefighter.
Okay, second by Commissioner Ibarra. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Okay. Any other actions out of closed session? Fair enough. Well, let's move to agenda item number 7. Any announcements? I had occasion to attend the Memorial Day event that was held at the Fire Department Station 1, and thanks to the chiefs and all those who participated, it was a wonderful event, lots of acknowledgement of everything that we should acknowledge. So thank you, Chief, for hosting and for putting on the show, and everyone who participated.
Yeah, it's honored to have it at the firehouse.
Right, any other announcements? Okay, then I will move to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. We are adjourned. Thank you.